Welcome to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome, also known as Damn It Bennett out in the gaming community. But as the director of esports growth and development at Full Sail University, I'm super passionate about exploring the diverse world of esports and gaming beyond just skill level. So whether you're a first-time listener or a returning fan, we're thrilled to have you join us for this virtual journey through the experiences of industry professionals. So get ready to engage with our guests and learn from their perspectives. But remember to submit your questions in the chat. We'll get them featured and get you your answers that you desire. But sit back, enjoy the ride as we kick off another episode of Have Game Will Travel, featuring Adam Schifani. Welcome, Adam. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Bennett. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a nice day. I heard you had a little storm coming your way. Hopefully nothing too bad.
Storm, yeah. No, I was a little worried because sometimes we've got like a couple transformers like connected in this area, and especially in my backyard. And so like sometimes if it's super windy, my power will flicker. And I was like, please let this storm pass before the stream starts. Well, but it looks like it's all done now.
Yeah, so. we have a Be Right Back screen, and we've never used it before. But maybe today is the day. We'll see. Could change. Who knows? But well, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people what you do and all of that.
Sure. So I am Adam Schifani. I am the Extra Life Community Manager. And so I've been in this position since May of 2022. Actually, today is my 2-year anniversary at working for Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Awesome. So, well, congratulations on the 2 years. That's awesome.
Thanks. So I've been here for exactly 2 years now, and I've been the Extra Life Community Manager the whole time. And so what that means is my role is to be the eyes, ears, and voice of the community for the Extra Life working team. And so I represent the community's wants and needs and like any issues they have and stuff like that with the team. And I communicate, new things that are coming from the Extra Life team to the Extra Life community, and just engage with people on a daily basis, either on socials or on Discord mostly.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, definitely. Discord's such a great tool, especially to connect with the community. It really makes kind of things easy for you. I know in the beginning when it first came out, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, this is perfect for streaming because we can have and continue the conversation when the stream's not live. We have this whole community. Let's all get together here, and since then, obviously, it's really expanded into really cool things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have my own Discord for like my group. Like we started this group kind of it's actually is like just kind of like a blow off steam and blog about games and stuff like that, and have a good time. And then it evolved into like where we started doing fundraising and everything. And so now it's like our little Memphis community. I'm from Memphis, Memphis community where like it's just a bunch of nerds in Memphis that are just hanging out in Discord. So.
I love that. So talk to me a little bit about like how this came to be. How did you find Extra Life and what led you to your current role here?
Sure. So the first time I learned about Extra Life was like 2015. A podcast that I listened to, a gaming podcast that I listened to, they participated in Extra Life and did fundraising. So I donated every time they did it for the next few years, and saw a few other people that I know in the community, and donated to their stuff and whatnot. But it wasn't until 2018 when I decided to get into Extra Life. And the reason for that is about 4 days before my son's second birthday, he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Oh. And so he was cared for at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital here in Memphis, Tennessee. And so that was a very, I guess, upsetting experience and everything, but the people at the hospital were fantastic. And we got like free education classes about type 1 diabetes, and my son got to go to while he was in the hospital, which wasn't very long the first time, but he had to go back a few times after that over the next couple of years. Because if you're type 1 diabetic, outpatient surgeries become inpatient surgeries. So like when he had to get his tubes put in his ears because he had ear infections, we had to do that in the hospital, and he had to be sedated and everything, and he had to be on a insulin and glucose drip and all that stuff. So he's been in and out of the hospital a few times, but luckily he hasn't had to be admitted again in 2 years. So that's been good. But the hospital's been fantastic to us, and he's gotten to partake in what's called child life services, which is when like they'll give toys to kids or like, card in video games for kids to play, or kids get to go to parties and whatnot. So we were actually there on 4th of July one time, and they had like a little party, like right as dusk was hitting, um, on the top floor of the hospital, where they have
Oh,
like
that's cool.
I guess it's normally a teen room, but they opened it up for like all the kids.
Okay.
And so because it faced down in downtown Memphis, and there was a fireworks show, so all the kids got to
Yeah.
watch the fireworks from the top of the hotel. Wow,
Yeah.
hospital. And so yeah. So after about 6 or 7 months or so, my brothers and I and some friends decided, like, let's give back to Le Bonheur by
Yeah.
fundraising for Extra Life, and we had never streamed before or anything like that. So we just kind of winged it, and we used my work laptop to stream. And like we had like one webcam and like a Yeti microphone, and just like a few lights here and there, and just did our best. And
Yeah.
we dropped the stream dropped like 3 or 4 times because the work laptop would get a little overburdened.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. And so we were like, all right, let's keep this going, let's keep doing it. And so we did it again in 2019, and like it's still my pinned tweet to this day. But we ended our 24-hour stream on 2019 at like $5,000.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I tweeted out, like, I want to do this like for the rest of my life. I want to do this every day. And so over the next few years, I kept doing Extra Life, and I got involved with a few other charities that are close to my heart for other reasons, and just did a few charity streams here and there, especially in 2020 when we were all locked inside.
Yep.
And so kept doing that stuff. And so I'd worked various jobs, marketing, IT, this, that, and the other, and just happened to see the position for Extra Life community manager open, and I was like, shoot my shot, whatever.
Yeah.
And so applied, and 2 days later, my now boss was like, "Hey, do you want an interview?" I was like, "Yes." So yeah, so that's the short version of how I got here, and so I've been doing this ever since, and it's kind of a dream. So
That's
pretty
awesome.
great.
It all started with the work laptop, like that's
Yeah, exactly.
that's such a cool thing, and I think that's such a like cool origin story for you, because so many people in the streaming space, they have a desire to do something like this, whether that's to raise funds for Extra Life or just to stream in general. And I think like a big kind of roadblock for a lot of people is like, well, I don't have the right gear, I don't have the right stuff.
Yeah.
I need better overlays, or I need a better computer. Like,
It needs to look professional.
yeah, and you just said, nah, bro, we're doing it, and you hit live, and that's the coolest thing ever, because that's really what it's about, is like trying and getting started and just doing it, and so kudos to you and your buds that seem like you guys now have a thing, right? This is what you do.
Yeah, we just kind of, we don't stream super often or anything, and most of the time when we do, it's for Extra Life streams and whatnot. But yeah, like, you don't have to have this like cool setup or anything. We certainly didn't. I think we had we used some of the random overlays from the Extra Life, media folder and whatnot. And I mean, we had never streamed. We didn't have an audience, and so we did traditional like peer-to-peer fundraising tactics, which is we texted our friends and family, and put the link out on social media, where luckily my brother had not a huge but a decent following, because and so we did that. We had a friend who's a YouTuber, and we had him hit people up.
That's cool.
So we used every angle we could, and we're essentially proud beggars. We're just like, hey, help us out. And so even in the first year, like, and this is not the case for everybody, but you use your network, and in our first year we raised $2,500. So so it's great. And now we average about like 3,000 to 5,000 every year, but like, we're totally cool with that. Any amount people raise, even if you raise $50 to $100, it all helps the hospitals. So,
absolutely, every penny counts. So, what obviously you talked about this podcast that you had heard about Extra Life, but was that really the thing that drew you into kind of the idea of combining, gaming and philanthropy together, for you guys, or was there another spark other than your local hospital?
Kind of. So we saw them, and that's how I learned about Extra Life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it was a really cool idea. And my brother and we had this blog, and several of our friends and whatnot would contribute from time to time, and it was really just for fun. We didn't, we weren't like growing very much or anything like that, but we were having a good time with it. And then just this experience with my son getting diagnosed with type 1 diabetes was, it changes your life, because that's a medical condition that's
Yeah.
forever. It's not curable. You just treat and keep going.
Yep.
And so yeah, it was we were just kind of inspired uh by the people at the hospital, and especially by, w- when I learned that the education classes that I got, or that we got, about type 1 diabetes and the child life services and stuff like that, that's paid for by funds from Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So every hospital uses the funds differently. We Children's Miracle Network hospitals gives the funds to the hospitals as what's called unrestricted funds. So the hospitals get to use them where they have the most need. And so every hospital is different. My hospital in the past had used it for child life services, education, equipment, and research. And then this year they just updated it. It was this year was or 2023 they used it for mostly for education, but then some for advancement services, which is like, building new areas and stuff
Yep.
like that. And then again for research. And so my hospital uses it for those things, but then you've got like Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, or CHLA, as most people call it, and they use 70% of their funds from us for charity care, which is when people can't pay for their hospital bills,
Yeah.
these funds help cover it. So learning that we benefited from this
Yeah.
was, personally, was a huge inspiration to get started on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it just makes you want to do it more, right? Like you
Yeah,
having
exactly.
firsthand like experience with that, and like being a part of, what other people had been raising before you. Now it just makes you
Yeah.
want to give back even more, which is really cool. Obviously, 2 years has gone by pretty quick for you in this
So
role.
fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
Have you had any other memorable experiences while working with Extra Life? What does your kind of day to day look like?
I mean, my day to day it changes all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's tons of memorable experiences. So, from just like the nerd who loves the video game industry and world perspective, like, I get to go to conventions and represent Extra Life at, PAX and TwitchCon and stuff like that. And so these are all places I wanted to go before and
Right.
could never afford it. And so now I can finally go to these, and I get to represent Extra Life while I'm there. And so that's really cool. But in all honesty, like, the most impactful things to me are like getting to see, these awesome stories from our community members. You've got some gut wrenching stories, you've got super inspirational stories, just like really hype stories of like really cool stuff happening. And so all of these stories from our community members are like, they are cup filling for me. And it's fantastic. And so we even have a channel in our Discord, or two channels really. One is called Why I Extra Life, and it's people put in their stories, and it's usually either, gut wrenching or very inspirational. And that channel brings tears to your eyes
Oh yeah.
sometimes. And then we've got another one called Magical Moments, and in that one people share all these really awesome things that happen either while they're doing their Extra Life campaign, or just in their community or something like that. And so those are very, very fulfilling to see. And then occasionally getting to visit hospitals when I travel to different areas of the country, that's always great. It's a little upsetting for me, for, because I've experienced being in the hospital with my kid being very sick,
Right.
but it's still very, very cool and heartwarming, to see these advances that we're helping,
Yeah.
pay for and everything. So it's great. But yeah, it's been a great community to be a part of. I was always kind of a lurker in the community. Like, I was in the Discord, I just never said anything.
Yeah.
I just used it to get news and be like, oh, what's going on? And but now I'm in it every day, and it's filled with wonderful people. So it's fantastic.
That's awesome. How can people find this Discord? What's the
So you can find it. It's Extra Life for Kids, and I believe the address is like Discord dot. Is it, isn't it GG
GG?
for
Yep. Yep.
Discord? Yeah, Discord.gg/Extra Life for Kids, I think, is the address. I'll have to check the, exact thing, but I'm pretty sure that's it. And so yeah, that's the best way to find it. If that link or my if my recollection of the link is wrong, you can always go to extra-life.org
Yeah.
and find our Discord there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Obviously, one of the questions I had here
Mhm.
was, learning about how Extra Life and how you've seen it directly impact somebody.
Mhm.
And I guess when writing the question, I thought like, okay, yeah, I mean, you're the community manager. You're going to see all these great stories of how it affected them. But learning now that like it affected you personally, like,
Yeah.
and that's such a a cool thing to understand and see, really it take the effect. So as you kind of go down that path into the community managing side and that community experience, right? What sort of challenges do you face in this role? Like what's something that as you go through it, I know a lot of students are interested in
Mhm.
community manager roles, after
Sure.
graduation. What sort of challenges do you have to overcome in your role?
Um, let's see. I would say so I'm a people pleaser. I like to like say yes
Yep.
when people ask me things. So learning how to say no when you can't do something.
Right.
Like I can't be at every convention and I hate that. I want to go like people invite me like, hey, come to this convention. We every year we raise $20,000 at the convention. I would love to go, but like we're a nonprofit that has a small travel budget. So,
Right.
so
Right.
I can't, unfortunately, I can't go to all those. So saying no to like when I get invited to really, really cool stuff, or like we've got several teams that are, game companies. And one of them, my son is a big fan of their game, and they sent us a bunch of stuff just because they found out my son plays their game. And, they sent him a poster and like a
That's
t-shirt
cool.
and whatnot, which was really cool. And then they were like, they asked if I could come to their thing, and to their Extra Life stream last year, and I couldn't make it just because we didn't have the budget. So
Yeah.
so that was unfortunate, but I really appreciate those invites and whatnot. Um, Another difficult thing would be um, more like having to keep secrets when you know cool stuff. So
Yeah. Yep.
that's a difficult one. But that's not too hard because you eventually get to tell everybody. Um, Another thing that I
It's always
do.
really good when you like when it actually comes out and you're like, all right,
Oh
now
yeah,
you
because you're like,
know,
yeah,
you're gonna
now
do this
everybody knows. Yeah,
right.
like it's like, can I tell somebody? And like,
Yeah.
no, don't tell anybody. We're
Don't
NDA.
know.
And I'm like, oh
Yep.
man. So
Yep.
like we did a thing with where people could donate and get a code for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for an in-game item, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm gonna tell people. And they're like, you can't. We're NDA. And I was like, all right, cool, that's great. So that kind of stuff is difficult. I will say, if for students out there who are like considering community manager roles, one of the most difficult things for community managers, especially if you're a creature of Discord like me, is learning to turn off when you're not
Yep.
working. So I sometimes have difficulty with that. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood, and I'll just shut the app off and not do anything, like, and ignore my phone and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, like I can't always do that because everybody knows there's Discord bot scams and all kinds of other
Right.
stuff. So, but luckily I have a great team of mods, and they're fantastic, and they normally get to those things, before I do. But even still, like being able to shut off and recognize, like, yes, this is a fantastic
Yeah.
job, especially on my end where I'm helping people with fundraising for children's hospitals while they play video games or play board games or do whatever they enjoy. Um, I do have to remember, like, I love this, but it is my job and I don't want to burn out.
Yeah.
And so trying to remember to take those breaks for yourself is, if you're getting into community management, take those breaks for yourself, shut off, don't engage at 2 o'clock in the morning, for something that can be answered the next day. Like it's not as crucial as you think it is. Now, sometimes there are emergencies. But yeah, that's a hard one for community managers to learn, is
Yeah.
when to shut off.
Yeah, setting those boundaries, right? Like having that work
Yes.
life balance is important in all things, but especially
Agreed.
in the gaming side, with Discord,
Mm,
with Twitch, with all these different things. Like, you have to kind of draw that line in the sand. So that's
yeah.
good. That's good. Really good advice to any future community managers out there that are really pumped up, and it's exciting. You want to be involved. You want to help. You want to do things, but
Yeah.
understanding, hey, there's got to be some sort of line that you say, okay, after this time, I'm not
Yeah.
engaging, right?
Yeah, once it comes to a certain time of the evening, I'm not engaging. I'm just going to be chill and do whatever. Or if I'm spending time, even if it's not in the evening, it's like, Saturday morning and I'm spending time with my son, I'm not going to be engaging with Discord. I'm going to
Yep.
be engaging with my son. So, yeah, setting those boundaries. Like I see real Casey Jones says, burnout is real. Yeah, it is. And
Yep.
set proper boundaries are super, super important, especially if you work from home like me. And I work from right here
Yeah.
every day.
This is your
So,
office.
yeah, and this is also where I play video games on that
Yep.
couch and my TV's right there. So like, I gotta set boundaries or else I
Yeah.
will go nuts.
Yep. How do you like engage and motivate gamers to
Mhm.
participate in Extra Life? Um, is there
There's oh, go ahead.
no? I was just saying, like, do you have strategies? Like, it's not always as easy as getting a laptop and starting, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
you're
have to
right.
think through, like, okay, what kind of goals are we setting? What kind of milestones are we
Mhm.
trying to hit? Like, what is it that we're doing? Like, what do you have that you try to do to motivate that?
Yeah, not everybody is fortunate and like me and has like a brother who's like I'm not a big wrestling person, but this is a term in wrestling. He's a face. Like,
Yep.
he's very much like, he's out and about and he's, getting people involved and stuff. So I'm fortunate personally on my extra life fundraising. I have my brother who does that stuff for me. I'm more introverted, so I'm just like, oh, will you please help me? But yeah, so no, the what we typically do is we start off with like standard best practices, and some of those are pretty standard for like all across any peer-to-peer fundraising, which is customize your fundraising page. That's one of the first things you
Right.
should do. Don't leave We have standard text, but if you've got a personal story, put that on there. That really changes things. People read those things.
Yeah.
You would be surprised how often people will say like, I read your story on your page and I donated. Do that. Talk about your fundraising. Like, don't just assume just because you made it people are going to donate. They're not. If they don't know about it, they're not going to. So if you have any social media, post about it on your social media. If when it comes time to do, like if you're doing a special push on this day or that day, let people know you're going to be doing that ahead of time, and give them your fundraising link, or just text, send a mass text out to people like, hey, doing this thing, here's my link,
Right.
please donate what you can, that kind of thing. You'd be surprised how often like even family members you don't talk to that much, or friends you haven't seen in years, would donate because they see you're doing good work and they want to help. um, those are often things to do. One of the things that we have seen is that you should make the first donation yourself. It's the same philosophy as like seeing like an empty tip jar.
Yep.
If the tip jar is empty, people are less likely to tip. If the tip jar has money in it, people are more likely to tip because they see, oh, somebody else has. Let
Yeah.
me go ahead and do it too. It's the same thing with donations. So make that first donation yourself, even if it's $10. And if you don't want people to know that you did it, you can do it anonymously. But like I donate to myself, all the time, especially if I want to, do a fundraising incentive and it to adversely affect one of my team members. Uh,
Right.
and that's another thing is that we have fundraising incentives and milestones that people can set up. And a fundraising incentive is if I am the donor and you're the fundraiser, say you have, you know, there's a food you dislike
Right.
and it's donate $10 and I'll eat this food.
Yep.
And so I'm going to donate that $10 because I want to see you eat that food because it's funny. People like to see us suffer, unfortunately. Suffer within means, not
Yep.
not actually harm yourself. And so fundraising incentives like that are super popular. We just had in April. Wow, time. We just we just had near the beginning of April 12th through the 14th was tabletop
Yep.
weekend, which is when we highlight excuse me, are tabletop gamers and everything. And so that's, card games, board games, any dice, dexterity games, all kinds of stuff. And so during that time, a lot of times people will play Dungeons and Dragons or similar. Oh, hold on 2 seconds. My son just called me.
Yeah, no worries.
Diabetes. What's that? Yes. He had to give himself some insulin. He uses a pump. He's not giving himself shots.
Okay.
So
Good to
he has an
know.
insulin. He has an insulin pump, and we have a phone with an app on it. He puts in the numbers. It tells the insulin pump what to do. He gets insulin. I could talk about type 1 diabetes for 2 days without stopping. But anyway, uh, so yeah, during tabletop weekend, people will play Dungeons and Dragons or other tabletop role
Yep.
playing games, and a common thing is like you donate $5 and it gives me disadvantage on a roll, or you
Yeah.
donate. We had I was actually in a game this tabletop weekend, and if someone donated $100 or $80, uh, the entire party had to pull from the deck of many things, which if you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, the deck of many things are these cards. They're like tarot cards, and they can be really, really great. Like
Yeah.
it'll automatically level you up, or it could be like literally world ending in the tabletop game and like everyone's dead.
Yep.
So
That's
it
it.
was it's really interesting to do stuff like that. And then milestones, very similar, but there when you reach, 500 or 100, $500,000, whatever you set your milestones at, when those happen, it's typically your promise to do those things. So one year I did a milestone to where this was during 2020, I believe, so or maybe it's 2021. I'm not sure, one of the two. And when we did this one, uh, we had to reach, I think it was $2,000. We reached $2,000 fundraising, and then my wife would be on the next stream, and she would play horror games. And she doesn't play video games that often, and
Okay.
she definitely doesn't play horror
Yeah.
games. And so that was hysterical, and people loved that. So anything that you can think of that like people would think is fun or
Yep.
interesting is a great way to do that. Yes, I'm on my fourth one chip challenge. Is like the spicy challenge. They
Oh
actually
yeah.
discontinued that because that chip like harmed someone pretty
Oh
badly.
no.
But yeah, people eat spicy food or like
Mm.
the Bean Boozled jelly beans
Yep.
or take pies to the face, or I don't like olives, so like I'll eat olives
Yeah.
and yeah. So
Yeah, I've also agree with the real Casey Jones. Yeah, definitely have had way too many Bean Boozles over the years, and
oh,
I
so
don't even
many.
like those things. I don't like jelly beans in general, so
I
they're
don't
all
either.
gross to
I don't
me.
like jelly beans. Yeah. And then some of the flavors, it's like, well, both of these are bad. Like it's like the
Yeah,
good ones like buttered popcorn and the bad ones like spoiled milk. I'm like, they both taste bad. So
yeah,
the
real
the
gross.
only one that's mildly good is the blue one because it's like berry blue or toothpaste. And toothpaste isn't bad. I brush my teeth every day.
Right,
And so
you're used to
so
it.
our team is like, okay, blues don't count. And we save all the blues because either the toothpaste or the berry blue flavor will get the other nasty flavors out of your mouth. So
Yep.
we'll just pop a berry
There
blue
you go.
afterwards.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we do actually have our first question from chat, and it does come from the real
Sure.
Casey Jones. They ask, what has been some of the coolest, most interesting incentives or milestones you've seen people use for their fundraising?
Oh my gosh, that's hard. Um, so for tabletop weekend this past year or this year, one of the cooler incentives that I saw was someone was this person is an animator by profession, and so they were taking commissions where if you donated X amount of money, they would draw your like Dungeons and Dragons character or whatever. So that
Okay.
was really cool.
Yeah.
So you get like art from a professional artist for not a whole like honestly way cheaper than that normally is,
Yeah.
and the money is going to help children in a hospital. So that's really really cool.
That is cool.
Goodness, some of the other I've seen so many and it like floods my brain and it's hard to think of them. um Gosh, let's see, the coolest most interesting ones I've seen people give away, um like PS5s and Xboxes and stuff like that. That's always super cool. Um, giveaways are interesting. So just remember to, check your state's gaming laws before you do those,
Right.
because in some states they are illegal. And but yeah, so those are really cool. Some other milestones. I've seen people host parties as a milestone. Like they rented out a bar afterwards and were like, if you're in the area, come over and we're doing a party. So
That's
that was
cool.
pretty cool. Um, Gosh, what's some other ones? Oh, tattoos. People
Okay.
get
Yeah.
tattoos all the time. There are so many extra lifers with the either old or new extra life logo tattooed on them because they reached whatever goal it was, 5,000, 10,000, whatever. So those are really really cool. Gosh, there's so many. I can't think of any more right now. I've just seen a ton of awesome incentives and milestones that it's hard to nail them down. Mm. I've seen tons of people, not the coolest, but I've seen tons of people like shave their head or
Yeah.
dye their hair. That's always super fun.
I've done a glitter beard before.
That
That
was
was
that.
popular.
Oh, I've some fun things to do is have like a like a spinning wheel and have a
Hmm.
bunch of things on there and either have good and bad things on there. Those are super fun
Yeah.
because it's kind of a game of chance for you and for the streamer and you get to find out like, all
Yeah.
right, did they get to like hug the person to their left or eat a bunch of anchovies? Like it really just depends.
Yeah.
So always trying to find new ways to
Yeah.
spice up fundraising. Yeah,
And
that's
they have like a digital version of that spinner thing too that
yeah.
you can download and put into OBS. And so
Yeah.
if you don't go out and actually buy the thing that you have in the
Mhm.
room, you can make a virtual one as well.
Yeah, and we bought a physical one, but it's only like this big, and it's dry erase, so we just change things on it all the
That's
time. So,
cool. So with
yeah.
Extra Life, obviously the goal, right, from a company is to grow Extra Life
Mhm.
and to grow that community. What sort of strategies are you using as the community manager to try to get more people involved in Extra Life and joining that
Sure.
community?
So there's lots of things we're always trying. We're gonna try to grow in more college campuses
Yep.
because that's a demographic that we kind of don't have a whole lot of people in, and we want to grow in that area. So we're looking into that. Um, Team captains are honestly have been and will always be some of our best like avenues for recruiting. And that's be it like we've done team captain like recruitment challenges before where they recruit. I think this was fall of 2022 where we had this thing where it was essentially like ask 70 people or to join your team or so and because statistically if you ask seven people, six will say no and one will say yes. And so when you ask 70 people, you get 10 team members
Yeah.
statistically. And so we did a push like that and it worked fantastic. We had a lot of people recruit a lot of people to their team. And one of the things we did to reward that when we were doing that was that for every new person that joined your team, we gave them a $10 donation. And then we got that from some of our other like corporate fundraising and whatnot. And then if you got to I think it was either 7 or 10 people. I think it was 7. When you got to 7 people, we gave the team captain $100 towards their hospital. So those
Yeah.
are like cheap little or not cheap, but like quick little challenges that we
Right.
do to incentivize people. And in the same vein, we get a lot of really big teams from companies in the gaming industry and adjacent to the gaming industry or just in tech in general.
Right.
So hitting up big companies like that to start up teams of just people fundraising it is always helpful. But yeah, teams are usually the best way for us to go about it because typically our community members are the best evangelists for Extra Life. They get excited about Extra Life. They want other people to get excited about it too and join their team. So that's one of the main ways that we get people to fundraise is through like motivating team captains, whether that's just through inspirational things or challenges like the one I described.
Right.
Um, it just depends on when we do it and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I love the idea of telling 70 people that, hey, come join, do this thing, and
Yeah.
maybe the stats work out that you get 10 people or more to do that.
Mhm.
That's a really interesting strategy, and I feel like could be used in a lot of different ways. If you're trying to
Yeah.
grow your channels, like tell 70 people, right? You get some new followers.
Mhm.
What do you think makes really a good, philanthropist from gaming? Like, what qualities do you see that have elevated people, through your journey as a community manager? Has specific streamers stuck out to you, or people that are just in it because hey, I want to do great for this hospital that's taken care of me or my family before?
Mm. I would say extra lifers are so varied in you know audience size,
Hmm.
um, niches that they fill, that sort of thing. It really just comes down to, for the most part, being genuinely you, and communicating with the people in your community. And that doesn't necessarily just mean your streaming community. It can mean your family, your friends, your coworkers, anybody that you interact with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Right.
Those are the people that you really want to get in touch with, and that helps you grow in your fundraising. But being genuine and upfront about what you're doing, and um, is usually the best way to do it. We also say, like, have your 30-second elevator pitch down.
Yeah.
Like, people may not want to listen to you for a whole lot of time. So having that 30 seconds to where you can say, like, this is what I'm doing. It's for this hospital. I'm doing it on this day. Please donate or join my team or whatever. However, you've got that elevator pitch structured is usually the best way to go about it. Because I see people who have 200 followers on Twitch, and they raise $10,000.
Yeah.
And then I've seen huge influencers only raise $2,000.
Right.
It really just depends on how you're communicating with your community and how you're promoting it, and do you have all the talking points you need? Do you have that elevator pitch down? Stuff like that. That's typically the best way for people to grow. And then another thing is just remember that your company may do matching gifts. So
Yeah.
always check with that. I mean, we've got people who do not stream at all, do not have a community, and they raise $30,000 a year because they'll get little donations here and there from people, and then they'll donate some of their own money, and then they'll go, "Hey, you know, HR, do we do matching gifts?" "Yep." "Okay, cool." And then that person got $15,000 in matching gifts.
Yeah.
So always check with with your employer and see if they have matching gift policy, because you could end up bringing in a lot of money passively that way.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Do you have any new projects that you're working on at Extra Life as a whole? You mentioned earlier about I want to tell people about this, but we're under the NDA, so no NDAs here. But
Yeah.
anything that Extra Life is specifically working on, or
Yes. So the biggest thing we're working on right now is public knowledge, so people can definitely check it out. Is so in the past we've had what's called Extra Life United, which
yep,
is our in-person event where people come. There's a game tournament, and you compete in the game tournament to win money for your hospital. And there's other activities there, but it's a big. I mean, it's kind of referenced in the community as like a big family reunion.
yeah,
People, a lot of extra lifers come. Pre-COVID, I think it was getting close to 400 people. Um, Last year we had about 175, I think. So excuse me. So we're getting back up there as far as numbers are concerned. And so it used to be in April in Orlando every
yep.
year, and so we made a change this year. And so now
Oh, I'm
Extra
sad
Life
about it.
United, yeah, I'm sorry. Um, Extra Life United is going to be in Kansas City this year, and we're actually pairing up with our other fundraising program from Children's Miracle Network Hospitals called Dance Marathon. And so Dance Marathon had a similar event called Dance Marathon Leadership Conference. And so we're taking Extra Life United and Dance Marathon Leadership Conference, and we're having them together because we're both peer-to-peer fundraising programs, and we can learn some things from each other.
Yeah.
And so we're putting them together in an event called Ignite, peer-to-peer leadership conference. And the Extra Life Extra Life United tournament is going to be at Ignite peer-to-peer leadership conference. So that is Kansas City, Missouri, in July 18th through the 21st. And registration opened last Friday. So people can go on in our Discord or on our socials or on our website to find the registration link. And if they want to come, they can register. There's several different price tiers. One is just a 3-day pass if you have somewhere else to stay, if you're not local to Kansas City.
Right.
And then we've got a couple tiers for double occupancy in hotel rooms if you've got someone you want to stay with. And then another if you want your own hotel room and stuff like that. So we're expecting a lot of people to come and have a good time. And there's 150 or no, I'm not sure the exact number, but last year in 2023, we had $150,000 worth of prize money that people could win.
Yeah.
And so when you compete in the tournament, last year we did 1st to 16th place. We're not sure about the placement this year, but 1st to 16th place won money last year. We've heard some people in the community say they want it to be 1st to 10th or whatever. So we're still making a few decisions on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that is when it is. We're still very much working on a lot of the planning for the event. We'll be announcing the games that are going to be played in the tournament very soon, probably within the next week or two. And so we'll have several video games that people can play and several tabletop games people can play. And there's going to be a lot of other activities that people can do and whatnot. So it should be a lot of fun. And we get this question sometimes, so I'll just go ahead and say this. People are asking, is it always going to be in Kansas City? Maybe, maybe not. It just depends. Dance Marathon Leadership Conference has traditionally moved cities either every year or every other year.
Yep.
So it's entirely possible that we could move cities next year or the year after. So just keep an eye on that kind of stuff if you're interested in going another year. Maybe Kansas City's not close to you this year, but maybe we'll be, I don't know, Atlanta, New Orleans, Cincinnati. So we could be anywhere in the United States in the following years. So just keep an eye on that stuff. If you can't make it this year, maybe you can make it another year.
Very cool. Yeah. And I've been lucky enough to when it was in Orlando, go. I've been several years to Extra Life United. It was always a great time. Won lots of money for Arnold Palmer here in Orlando, playing Overcooked. That we were champions there, which was great.
Nice.
Failed at rock, paper, scissors.
That's always a really fun. So last year was my first time at ELU at Extra Life United. I got hired literally right after Extra Life United ended last year or in 2022.
Okay.
So I didn't get to go in 2022, but watching 175 people do rock, paper, scissors is wild.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
I was like, I'm good at this game. It failed immediately.
Some people are like, "Oh, I've got a strategy." I'm like,
you
don't know what they're gonna do.
They did have a strategy. It was incredible. Yeah. So last year we had every year that we've gone, we've brought Armada, which is our varsity esports teams. We've brought a few students with. Sometimes we'll bring casters. We'll bring stream team members. It just really depends on who's local and on campus and available. But it's been a really fun experience to go. And for people that maybe don't know 100% about Extra Life, can you explain a little bit about how gamers can impact their local communities
Sure.
With Extra Life, and how those funds are used and how that all works?
Sure. So I'll give the kind of quick spiel and then go into detail. So Extra Life is a program is a fundraising program of Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and Children's Miracle Network Hospitals supports 170 hospitals across the United States and Canada, and I believe it's actually 13 or 14 specifically in Canada and the rest in the United States. And when you fundraise for Extra Life, all the money you raise goes to the hospital. We do not keep it. So we highly suggest you don't do the Extra Life underwriting. If you just do Extra Life, it's just going to go to what's called underwriting, which is just how we operate. So highly suggest picking a hospital, because then your money goes to the hospital. So pick your hospital and then literally do whatever is fun to you. And so it used to be Extra Life is always perceived as a video game uh, charity, and that's how it started off. But we're really embracing the idea of, if you're having fun and you're raising money for your local children's hospital, you're an extra lifer to us. So that's video games, board games, playing, basketball in your driveway with people, or
Yeah.
doing a tournament at the local rec center for something. If you're having fun, you're an extra lifer to us. We literally had a guy streaming last week who is a guitar streamer and guitar influencer, and he was just playing guitar and interviewing other guitarists, and he raised over $12,000.
That's awesome.
So he did a fantastic job, and he didn't play any video games, and it was an awesome stream. It was very chill music and everything. It was great. So just have fun, and promote your fundraiser to people, and that's how you can start getting people involved in your community. And as I said earlier, the Extra Life and Children's Miracle Network hospital funds are given to the hospitals as unrestricted funds. And so that means that the hospital gets to use it where they have the most need. And that can be charity care, research, equipment, building projects, um, gosh, child life services, all kinds of things. So every hospital uses their funds differently, and you can contact your local children's hospital and ask them, hey, how do you use Children's Miracle Network Hospital's funds? They'll usually give you like what's called an impact report, and it's just a little short like graphic report that says, like, 30% of our money is used for this, 10 this, 20 for this, blah blah. So it goes through all of that. So those are the way. That's how it affects the kids in your area, is literally up to the hospital. So you would have to check with them. And if you're fundraising for Extra Life and you don't know how to get in touch with your hospital, hit me up in Discord and I can help you get
There
in
you
touch
go.
with your hospital. So
And I think, honestly, I think all of them have like an extra life person at each hospital. We
most of them do. Yeah. It
Yeah.
really depends on the hospital and the hospital's budget and all this other stuff. Some hospitals, my hospital has two people that work on Children's Miracle Network hospital stuff. They have one person doing corporate and one person doing Extra Life, dance marathon, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some hospitals have one person doing everything. Some hospitals have, 8 people and one person alone does Extra Life. So just remember that not every hospital is the same. Some are super flooded. So try to give your hospital program director a little bit of grace if they don't answer you immediately. And if you can't get in touch with them, you can get in touch with me, and I can help you out as best I can.
Definitely. Yeah. Again, join the Discord community for Extra
Mhm.
Life. You'll be able to see Adam in there, and maybe get some questions answered, or just learn some new stuff, which is always good.
Yeah.
Looks like we got another question from the chat from Jacob's Nachos. Yes. How important is social media strategy when it comes to building and supporting your community?
It honestly depends on, is your community on socials.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I mean, for us, it was pretty important. Me personally, um, we connected with a lot of people online. We connected with a lot of people that we had genuine, like similar interests with, and so we were able to collaborate with a lot of other local people in Memphis. We've got a comic book YouTuber who's one of our best friends now, and he has a much larger community than we do, and so he's on our Extra Life team,
Yeah.
and he hits up his community. His community is very generous as well. So it's really using the connections that you have to get to reach as many people as possible and ask them, hey, help us support our local children's hospital. These are kids in our community that need our help. And so help us support those people. I see one of my coworkers in the chat. So it's I've seen stream. This is my coworker. I've seen people stream themselves baking
Yep.
cookies for 24 hours. Another did fishing for 12 hours. Yeah, you can literally do this. That's on the comment of like doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's people who do cooking streams or art streams or fishing streams. I've never seen a fishing
I
stream,
want
but
to
that'd be
see the
interesting.
fishing stream. That
Yeah,
sounds
me
fun. Like,
too.
is it in-game fishing or like actual, like,
Yeah, is this person like got a streaming backpack, like, and they're using a cell phone and everything, and they're just like chatting while they fish? Because that's pretty rad. So pretty cool. But yes, a social media strategy, IRL fishing. There you go.
Yeah.
A social media strategy is important. Um, if you don't have a huge social following, my suggestion is to make genuine. It's hard. I know this is way easier said than done, but
Right.
make genuine connections with people on social media. that have similar interests to you, that are in your same area, that especially that one, because if you're trying to have people donate to your local children's hospital, a lot of times getting people in your area is usually pretty important.
Yeah.
You know, send a message, either publicly or a DM to, like, the local news station, and say, like, hey, we're fundraising for this hospital, like, can you retweet us? I'm still gonna say tweet because X is stupid.
Yeah.
So can you retweet us, and or repost us on Facebook or something like that? Just always ask people
Yeah.
if they'll help you, because you'll be surprised how many will say yes.
Absolutely. And I think there's that fear of like rejection, right?
Oh, for sure.
And I get that. I get it. But it doesn't hurt to ask, because at the end of the day, if they say no, then right? Like, that's it. Like, but they could say yes, and all it takes is you just saying, "Hey, could you do this thing for me?" And maybe they'll be, "Hey, yeah, that sounds cool. Here you go. Not a problem." And that can really be a big deal. Could really change the game for what you're trying to do. So it never hurts to ask, I guess, is the moral of that story, right?
The saying my mom always said to me when I was growing up is, you're at a no until you ask. So it's no unless you ask.
Yep.
And then if you ask, it might still be no, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You asked. So and like we said, statistically, you ask 7 people, at least one will say yes.
This is like a new thing that I've learned today, is the 7 people thing. So I love that.
Yeah. So one thing we always, we did this last year at ELU, was we had people who were like, hey, get your phone out right now, text 15 people for $15. And we raised like $8,000 in 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
So it was wild. So, so yeah, pretty cool stuff. You're really surprised how often people will say yes. And sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll ask them for $15 and they'll be like, here's 150. And you're like, woohoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So with we got about 10 minutes left of the show here, and so I wanted to kind of ask some rapid fire questions to you, and as well give you some time to tell people where to find you and all of that good stuff. But for people that are looking to get involved in gaming for a good cause, like what's some advice that you would give to someone that maybe they're thinking about doing their first Extra Life stream, but they're maybe nervous, they're on the fence? Like, what advice would you give to someone that's just getting started with that?
I would say, if you're just getting started, first of all, selfishly, join the Extra Life Discord, because we have channels in there where people ask questions all the time, and like general support, streaming support, support for our fundraising platforms. So that is a great place to start gathering information. Check the pinned posts in some of those channels and gather your information there. It's also a good place to meet other community members. So selfishly, join the Extra Life community.
Yep.
But if you're nervous about fundraising, gosh, I would say, in all honesty, go on our YouTube channel and watch some of the videos about like some of these kids and everything, and it'll really inspire you and get you moving and whatnot. And you'll also see some of the stories from some of our other Extra Lifers that are really inspiring.
Yeah.
And so those are good ways to kind of get your get your feelings up and everything, and be motivated. Another one is, take it easy. Don't stress yourself about like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to raise enough money. If you raise $5, that's great. You raised $5. It's fantastic. So don't stress, just have fun with it. Ask people like, what other incentives do you do? What are things that you do to get people to donate? Do those sort of things. Do the easy things. We've got on our website, we've got like, best practices and stuff like that. Do those. They actually work. So my son just crawled in the room. I see you in the camera. Anyway, he's off the screen for you, but still. But yeah, do those, go on our website, look at the best practices and FAQs and stuff, read those things. Those will give you a little bit of inspiration, everything. Join the Discord community, check with people. And yeah. And if you have questions, ask us. We'll be happy to help them.
What do you feel like is the biggest misconception about like charitable gaming?
For Extra Life specifically, it's that you have to stream and you have to play video games. You
Yeah.
don't. You
Okay.
don't have to stream your Extra Life fundraising. We have only about 60% of Extra Lifers are streamers.
Okay.
So you don't have to stream. About charitable gaming in general, some misconceptions are that the people that do it are only big streamers.
Yeah.
That's not true. Like I said, we started off and we had never streamed before. We have only been charity streamers. So a lot of people only do charity streams or only stream when they're going to do a charity push, stuff like that. If you're this is just general as well, not just Extra Life, but join the community that you're fundraising for. Almost every nonprofit that has a gaming section or streaming, like, program, whatnot, they have an online community. Where it is, it just depends on the charity. Most of them have a Discord server, but follow them on socials to get the news about the charity. Ping their community manager if you have questions, or there you go, Phil. There you go. There's the Discord one. I was right. Extra Life. It is discord.gg/extra life for kids. So that's get involved in that community is another way to do it. And don't, like I already said this before, don't be afraid to contact if you're fundraising for Extra Life, contact the hospital.
Yeah.
Because the hospital is overjoyed to have you fundraising for them, even if it's a little bit. So definitely contact your hospital and get involved that way. But yeah, don't get in your own head. Have fun with it. Don't stress out. If you set a goal of $5,000 and you only raise 500, it's okay. You still got that hospital $500 more dollars than they already had, or than they had. So it's good to, have fun, be chill with it, and just roll with it and have a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we've been lucky enough here at Full Sail to interface and interact with the folks at Arnold Palmer Hospital, Children's Hospital here, and they've been fantastic. And have had tours of the hospital and brought Armada and Full Sail students through and provided opportunities to meet some Extra Life patients, and that it's a really great thing to be able to be involved. So I always am trying to get more and more people involved in this, and I think it's such a great cause. So
thank you.
Awesome. Adam, obviously we want you to join the Discord. Where can people find you? How do they get in contact with you outside of the Extra Life Discord?
With me specifically, if people want to follow me on socials, most of my socials are at Nerd901 Adam 901, not the letter O. Memphis calls the area. It's the area code for Memphis. We say 901. Yeah. So Nerd901 Adam is where you can find me if you want to follow me specifically. I don't post a whole lot, but I do post occasionally. So I'm mostly just worried about work and everything. So I don't do a ton of my own social media stuff. But I will definitely, when we're fundraising for Extra Life, I always post stuff. That's where you can find me. If you want to find me, my personal Extra Life streams, just on Twitch, we're Nerd901 on Twitch. So you can find us there. And that's my team with my brothers and my buddies, Ernie and Jose, and whatever other guests we have. They all roll through and we have a good time, and we are silly and eat nasty food, and we'll take slaps to the face and all kinds of other stuff. So I don't recommend that one if you don't want to endure that pain yourself. I'm not endorsing that for other people. But yeah, it's we have a good time, and we eat hot wings and play silly games and whatnot. So it's a lot of fun.
Very good. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We will be back on May 16th with the legendary caster Tiny Shiny, who just casted our NACE Grand Finals here at Full Sail. So really excited for that one. But Adam, thank you again for being here. Guys, make sure to go to Extra Life for Kids on the Discord, and we will see you next time. Thanks.
All right.